ndatumirwo mikora kanitha-ini wa PCA mwiki yuke ijurage kanitha thiini wa PCA ni Sakaja na Kasongo na mundu uria warutire wira ucio ni MCA wa Umoja wetagwo Ronaldo. Wira Ronaldo atiriri abangire mikora ahetwo mbeca ni Ruto moke manjurage mwiki. Abangire muthenya uria umire Ruraya ngiuma America. Barera yothe abangitwo guku ni Sakaja na Ruto, Ronaldo MCA na aragi uguo turaria niwe wabangite mikora uria nguragwo. Wira Ronaldo atiriri ningoka Umoja njarie na andu a nyumba itu no uria ngamera siasa yake gathirira umwire ni mwanake munini nyie ni ndamurekera ndagacokere mitugo iyo.
Ladies and gentlemen, hearing the words of Rigathi Gachagua on matters of an attempt on his life, it's not something that we can take lightly. Why can't we take this lightly? Because it has been the norm of the Kenyan leaders, more so those that are currently clinging to power, to make an attempt on those that present a certain threat, a certain level of threat to their leadership. I will take you back to the first matter of the Kenyan post-independence assassination. That was none other than General Baimonge, assassinated by the Kenyatta's regime for refusing to leave the forest in Meru after Kenya got independence and Kenyatta refused to hand over lands back to the people of the Mount Kenya region, for they had gone to the forest and organized themselves in Mau Maus to fight for the independence and to fight for them to take back their land. That was the first one. The other one post-independence was none other than Pio Gamapinto, assassinated outside his home. He was a journalist and an activist that rose against the Kenyatta regime. And he was very, very vocal against the Kenyatta regime on how it posed a threat to the post-independence Kenya. Another one was J.M. Kariuki, a man that refused every advances that were made towards him by the Kenyatta regime to support them and to give them the support they deserved so that he would be given land and money. He was the member of parliament of Naivasha on his assassination. Not forgetting the late minister, one Tom Mboya, assassinated for being a man that saw the Kenyan future, a president that Kenya never had. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to tell you that the recent confession of Rigathi Gachagua on a plot to kill him is something that should not be taken lightly. In the current atmosphere of the Kenyan politics, allow me to take you back to the wake of Gashagua's impeachment in the year 2024. About a month later, Gachagua attended a funeral in Limuru. On November 28, 2024, while Gachagua was attending a funeral service in Limuru, Kiambu County, a coordinated attack led by state-sponsored goons led an attack on him and his allies, which saw most of his vehicles being vandalized and damaged. Some of his allies, leaders currently serving the people of Kenya, left with injuries. Gachagua escaped that assassination by a whisker because, according to him, that day was meant to be the head of him. Remember, it was just a month after his impeachment, and this attack was coordinated not only to scare him, but to kill him, because Gachagua presented a formidable threat to William Ruto's leadership, to William Ruto continuance clinging to power. Behold 2027. That was the moment they saw, even if we won't kill him, we might scare him to run back to hiding so that he cannot continue posing a threat to our dominance of the Mount Kenya region politics. But they failed in that matter. Remember, Gachagua filed a case at the Directorate of Criminal Investigation headquarters. But after filing this case and presenting evidence, with video evidence, photographic evidence of the goons that actually even tried to kill him, the goons that tried to hit him on the head with the bar metal, no arrests were made by the Directorate of Criminal Investigation. Now, this was the first attack on Rigathi Gashagua's life. Months later, in April this year, 2025, youths led another attack on Rigathi Gachagua while he was attending a PCA church service in Mwiki, Kasarani constituency, Nairobi County, where, according to Gachagua, the planners of the said attack were Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja and Mwiki MCA, popularly known to many as Ronaldo. In the said attack in Mwiki, Gachagua was ready. Gachagua was prepared. And remember, it is in the said attack that Gashagua's security fired bullet in the air to disperse the goons that had been sent to kill Rigathi Gachagua in Mwiki. Now, in that also scuffle that unfolded in Mwiki, Gashagua's supporters took matters into their own hands and dealt with his attackers, which saw goons being stoned and their motorcycles torched by hungry residents of Mwiki ward. Allow me to inform you that the attacks on Rigathi Gachagua in the past, they were not meant to push him. The attacks on him earlier were meant to push him into hiding, fearing for his life. But Gachagua turned the cans to his favor by accusing the state of the sponsored attacks on him and an assassination attempt on him. Now, this is a clear indication that Gachagua has beat Ruto in his own game. But that does not mean that the attacks are over. President William Ruto is a man that is good at plotting against his enemies. You know, he has been accused in the past of being involved in high-profile assassination in the Republic of Kenya. That of Chris Musando, that of Officer Kenei, that of the late Jacob Juma. These are just a few, and these were the high-level critics of William Ruto while he was the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Now, one thing you must understand, Gachagua was meant to be taken out in the year 2024 or the beginning of the year 2025. The reason being that by the year 2027, the people would have forgotten about his death or his assassination. The people would have moved on. Somebody else would have risen from the Mount Kenya region to fill the gap that Gachagua occupied. But to their surprise, Gachagua beat them in their own game. He actually planted NIS, his own intelligence agents within the Kenyan government. Gachagua has a network of spies within Ruto's government who give him intel on the plans against his life. And that is how he has been able to maneuver through all the hurdles and to remain relevant until date. His relevance, allow me to tell you, that if Rigathi Gachagua is arrested today or he is assassinated, that is something that the country cannot take. Because Gachagua, in comparison to his political influence right now, is like that of the late Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. When Raila Amolo Odinga rose to dominance in the year 2007, no any state agency could dare lay their hands on Raila Amolo Odinga. Because they knew assassinating Raila Amolo Odinga or capturing Raila Amolo Odinga meant torching this country down to the ground. Are we together? So that is something that Rigathi Gachagua also realized. If his influence grows past William Ruto influence in his region, then he has the support of his people, and the state will fear what might befall the country if anything bad happens to him. But he should not take that into advantage and actually rule out the possibility of these people making attempts on his life. Because the man that is leading this country right now is a man that has been named in the ICC. So don't take him lightly. And ladies and gentlemen, One thing I can tell you is please continue praying for our opposition leaders. Because it's not only Gachagua that his life is in danger. Even Kalonzo Musyoka right now, his life is in danger. Because he is the greatest threat to William Ruto's presidency. He is the only credible presidential candidate to take on William Ruto come the year 2027. Don't you be surprised that by the year 2027 to hear that Kalonzo Musyoka has been hospitalized because of an unknown disease. Yes, I'm telling you that openly so that you will remember and keep these men in your prayers, because the future of Kenya lies on the back of one Rigathi Gachagua and Kalonzo Musyoka. Make sure you subscribe. See you in our next video. This is the Kenyan Daily Report.